Okay, imagine this. You're just, going about your day, maybe heading to some routine appointment, nothing special. And then suddenly, bam, you're grabbed, swept into this concrete box.
Hmm.
No bed, forget a proper shower. You get a flimsy foil blanket and a toilet right there with you. That's basically it.
Yeah, it sounds like something out of a bad dream, doesn't it?
Totally. But this wasn't a dream for hundreds of people held by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, right in the middle of New York City.
Exactly. It was their shocking reality.
And that brings us to what really caught our eye. On August 12th, 2025, something pretty remarkable happened. A federal judge basically ordered ICE, clean up your act now.
A really unprecedented move.
So our mission for you today in this deep dive is to unpack what exactly went down at this one facility in Lower Manhattan. We want to explore the truly awful conditions that led to this judge stepping in so forcefully.
And figure out what this all means for the bigger issue, immigration enforcement in the U.S.
Mm.
It's this clash, really, between human dignity and, well, bureaucracy.
Yeah, and honestly, it's more gripping than any reality show you'll see.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's set the scene a bit. We hear about IC all the time, but maybe a quick refresher. What exactly is IC and where do they fit in?
Sure. So ICE is basically the arm of the Department of Homeland Security that deals with immigration laws inside the country. Think deportations, workplace enforcement, and crucially for this story, detention. They were formed back in 2003, kind of in that post-9/11 reorganization.
Right, and this detention piece, it's legally different from jail, isn't it? That seems important here.
Oh, absolutely critical. Legally, immigration detention is civil. It's not supposed to be criminal punishment. The whole point, officially, is just to make sure people show up for court or are available if they're ordered deported.
So in theory, better conditions than prison.
In theory, yes, significantly better. But as we're about to get into, the reality on the ground can be, well, drastically different.
And the scale of this whole system is
Yes.
huge, right?
It's massive.
Yeah.
The U.S. has the largest immigration detention system in the world. We're talking tens of thousands of people held every single day. By August 2025, ICE was holding nearly 60,000 people across the country. That was a record high, really pushed by some pretty aggressive enforcement policies.
60,000, that's staggering.
And expensive, I imagine.
Hugely expensive, around $200 per person per day. Do the math. That's over $3 billion a year coming out of taxpayer pockets.
Wow. Okay, so back to this specific story. It's centered on 26 Federal Plaza. That's right, in Lower Manhattan. A busy government building, not some remote detention camp. How did that place become this focal point?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, right? It's this nondescript federal building, houses immigration courts, FBI offices, stuff like that. The holding cells we're talking about are on the 10th floor. And they were absolutely never, ever designed for anything more than maybe a few hours of processing.
Just quick in and out. Exactly. Get processed.
Yeah.
Then move somewhere else or released. But what happened was, as ICE really ramped up arrests in New York City, this place became a massive bottleneck. It turned into this bottleneck of misery, as some called it. A makeshift jail where people were stuck for days, even weeks.
And the stories from people held there, they're just brutal. Let's talk about Sergio Alberto Barco Mercado. His experience sounds like a nightmare.
It really does. Sergio's a proving asylum seeker. He'd been checking in, doing everything right since 2022. He goes for what he thinks is just a routine court date, August 8th, 2025, at 26 Federal Plaza.
Okay.
And instead, they arrest him right
Yeah.
there and stick him in one of these 10th floor cells for 2 days.
Yeah.
He described it as extremely crowded, freezing cold, and the smell just reeking of sewage.
Just basic human needs like soap, a toothbrush.
Nothing. No soap, no toothbrush, just that thin foil blanket on the bare concrete floor. And get this, he had a really bad tooth infection, his face was swelling up, but his requests for medical attention were just ignored, completely ignored. And the way he described getting water, sometimes just squirted into their mouths like we were animals.
Yeah.
That detail just, it tells you so much about the dehumanization happening.
It's just hard to even imagine that level of indignity. And he wasn't alone, was he? There was Carlos Lopez Benitez, too.
Right, Carlos. He'd fled violence in Paraguay. He was detained back in July after a hearing at the same building. And his story, depressingly similar. Officers apparently mocked him, cranked up the AC until it was freezing. And the food, he said it looked like dog food.
And this wasn't just happening to men, right? Women face similar terrible conditions.
Absolutely. We heard accounts from women who said there were maybe only 2 menstrual pads for an entire room full of women.
Oh, my God.
Wow. Think about the humiliation, the health risks involved there. It's degrading. And people managed to smuggle out cell phone videos. They showed dozens of people crammed in, lying on the floor, literally next to open toilets.
You can just imagine the smell.
A mix of sweat, urine, just
Yeah.
despair. That's what people described.
So these weren't holding cells anymore. People were there for way longer than intended.
Way longer. That whole 72-hour maximum thing, total fiction by this point. Some people were held 15 days, maybe even more. Food was often just 2 MREs a day, those military-style rations. People called it slop, so they lost significant weight, like 20 pounds or more.
And no showers, no clean clothes.
Nope. No showers, no change of clothes, barely any real medical care. And on top of all that physical misery, there's the issue of getting legal help.
Which is so critical, especially if you're seeking asylum. Your life could literally depend on it.
Exactly. But calls with lawyers, they were monitored, limited to just a few minutes, no privacy whatsoever. And sometimes lawyers couldn't even find out where their clients were. ICI would just list them as in transit, basically making them vanish into the system.
That sounds like a direct hit on their constitutional rights.
It absolutely is. The Fifth Amendment guarantees due process. That includes humane treatment and the right to access legal counsel. For asylum seekers trying to avoid being sent back to danger, blocking that access, combined with these conditions, it's not just uncomfortable, it's a fundamental violation. It feels punitive, not civil.
Okay, so these individual stories, Sergio's, Carlos's, the women's experiences, the smuggled videos, this all built up into undeniable evidence. And Sergio didn't just suffer through it, he fought back.
He absolutely did. With help from groups like Make the Road New York, the ACLU, the New York Civil Liberties Union, really strong advocates. They filed a class action lawsuit on August 8, 2025. It was in the Southern District of New York. The case number, for anyone wanting to look it up, is 25-6568, and they name names: DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, ICE Director Todd Lyons, others, accusing them of deliberate indifference.
Saying this wasn't just negligence, it was intentional disregard.
Precisely. Arguing that the whole setup at 26 Federal Plaza had become punitive, punishing people, not just holding them civilly. They demanded immediate changes.
And things moved fast. The hearing was just days later, August 12th. What was that like in the courtroom?
Yeah, very quick turnaround. It was before Judge Louis A. Kaplan. He's a Clinton appointee, known for being pretty sharp, no nonsense. The plaintiff's lawyer, Heather Gregorio, she painted this incredibly stark picture for him, called the conditions inhumane and horrifying. She talked about 40, even up to 90 people crammed into cells, sharing toilets right out in the open, sleeping on concrete, denied basic hygiene.
Did she mention specifics?
Yes, she brought up that awful example of the 20-year-old woman who menstruated for days without any supplies. Just devastating details.
How did the government lawyers respond to that? The DOJ, representing ICC.
Well, the DOJ lawyer, Jeffrey Ostricher, he didn't exactly deny everything. He admitted, yeah, okay, no sleeping mats, only 2 meals a day, no in-person visits because of the building's layout. He actually said, we all agree conditions need to be humane. But then he tried to argue that, as of that moment, there wasn't any current overcrowding, like problem solved.
Trying to downplay it. Did Judge Kaplan buy that?
Not for a second. He clearly saw the urgency. He called it a very serious threat of irreparable injury. That's strong language from a judge. And right then and there, he issued a temporary restraining order, a TRO.
Okay, what does a TRO actually do?
It's like an emergency brake.
Yeah.
A short-term court order to stop immediate harm while the case goes forward. This one was set for 14 days, and he demanded full fixes by August 26, 2025.
And he wasn't vague about it, right? He gave specific instructions.
Incredibly specific. No wiggle room. First, space. Everyone gets 50 square feet. That meant the biggest room, which held maybe 40 or more, was now capped at around 15 people. Huge difference.
Wow. Okay, what else?
Cleanliness. Cells had to be scrubbed clean 3 times a day. Bedding. If you're staying overnight, you must get a clean mat. No more concrete floors.
That covers shelter.
Yeah.
What about hygiene?
Full access. Plenty of soap, toothbrushes, toothpaste, menstrual products, towels, toilet paper, all had to be available. And critically, legal access.
How did he address that?
The detainees must get confidential phone calls with their lawyers within 24 hours. Interpreters have to be provided if needed, and they have to get a printed notice of their rights within 1 hour of being detained.
That's comprehensive. Anything else?
Yeah, also access to necessary medication, extra food and water if requested, and crucially, ICE couldn't use that in-transit excuse anymore to hide where people were. Full transparency on location.
That is a thorough smackdown. Did the judge signal this wasn't the end of it?
Oh yeah. He definitely hinted that this class action lawsuit could move forward, maybe leading to a longer-term injunction covering more people. And he specifically said he was worried things might just backslide if the court didn't keep a close watch. He knew this might be a systemic issue, not just a temporary blip. He sounded ready to enforce it.
It's powerful, but it also feels familiar. Like we've been here before with icy conditions. This isn't the first time a court has had to step in, is it?
Sadly, no. Not by a long shot. This fits right into a really long, troubling history of legal battles over how ICE treats people in detention. Remember 2019? Similar orders came down about kids at the border being held without basics like soap or beds. It was horrifying.
I do remember that.
Then in 2022, there's a big lawsuit over conditions at the Torrance facility in New Mexico, allegations of faked inspections, abuse. Just last year, 2023, NPR did a major investigation exposing what they called negligent medical care, filthy conditions, even preventable deaths in IC custody. The ACLU has documented solitary confinement being used in ways they call an endless nightmare.
So reports, lawsuits, court orders,
Yeah.
yet the problems seem to keep cropping up. Why? What are the deeper reasons this keeps happening?
That's really the core question, isn't it? It points to some deep systemic problems. You could probably boil it down to a few key things. One is often cited as chronic underfunding for certain aspects of care, combined with a real lack of independent oversight. ICE largely polices itself, you know?
Two, a lot of these detention centers are run by private companies. And when profit is the main driver, sometimes detainee welfare. Well, it takes a backseat. Corners get cut.
The profit motive.
Exactly. And third, you have political policies that often seem to prioritize just hitting high numbers for arrests and detentions, sometimes over ensuring humane treatment. It all adds up to a system that's incredibly expensive, as we said, but also generates immense human suffering.
So when this ruling came down from Judge Kaplan, what was the reaction? Lots of strong feelings, I bet.
Oh yeah, from advocacy groups, huge praise. The ACLU said it sent a clear message about constitutional rights. The NY Immigration Coalition called it a step forward, even pushed for shutting down 26 Federal Plaza entirely. NYC's controller, Brad Lander, called it a much-needed rebuke. Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez pointed out that when inspections get blocked, like they sometimes were, it allows these abuses to stay hidden.
Makes sense. What about DHS and IC? How did they react officially?
They pushed back hard. DHS put out a statement calling the claims of bad conditions categorically false. They vowed to appeal Judge Kaplan's order. Their line was basically, 26 Federal Plaza is just for processing. People get moved quickly to better places.
But the evidence suggested otherwise.
Right. And an ICE official, Nancy Zanello, filed a declaration. She admitted they were holding 24 people as of August 11th, which was technically under the judge's new cap. But she just said basics like hygiene stuff were available. Detainees strongly disputed that availability, and of course it blew up on social media. Journalists, politicians, activists all highlighting the judge's findings.
Okay, so where does this leave things? A TRO is temporary. What happens next? Could this have wider effects?
It absolutely could. While this TRO only lasts 14 days initially, it really opens the door for that class action lawsuit to potentially get certified and lead to a longer-lasting injunction. That could impact potentially thousands of people, not just in this one building. And remember, there was a similar ruling about an LA facility just the month before this, in July 2025. So you see a pattern emerging where judges are stepping in.
A judicial trend, maybe?
Possibly. It puts a lot more pressure on the administration. Either they need to seriously reform how these places are run, or they're going to face more and more of these lawsuits, which are costly and embarrassing. It also forces a look at the whole idea of mass detention itself. Is it necessary? Is it effective? Especially when alternatives exist.
Right. You mentioned alternatives earlier. What are those?
Things like community supervision programs, sometimes using ankle monitors. They allow people to live in the community with their families while their cases proceed. Studies show these are way, way cheaper. We're talking saving hundreds of dollars per person per day compared to detention. And they're arguably much more humane.
So cheaper and more humane options are out there.
Definitely. But until there's a bigger shift in policy towards using those alternatives more widely, it seems like the courts are going to remain this crucial, maybe primary check on the system, making sure there's at least some basic standard of humane treatment being met.
So we've taken this deep dive into 26 Federal Plaza. We've uncovered these really harrowing conditions, the personal stories, and then this powerful intervention by a federal judge laying down these very specific rules.
Yeah, it's a really stark example, isn't it? This constant tension between how a country enforces its laws and how it upholds basic human dignity. And the courts are increasingly finding themselves right in the middle of that.
The big question that hangs in the air for all of us really is, will this court order actually lead to lasting, meaningful change? Or is it just another temporary patch on a system with really deep problems?
Right. What does humane treatment really mean in the context of detention, especially for people fleeing danger and seeking safety?
And what's our collective responsibility, to make sure those standards are met? It's definitely something to keep thinking about and certainly a story to keep watching as it develops.